Welcome everybody to the first of who knows how many videos I might decide to make where I break down our fantasy football season. Yes, before you roll your eyes, this is what happens when I go from working about 60 hours a week to waking up and walking dogs. Clearly, I'm not spending it on getting haircuts or shaving, so I might as well spend it on making videos that are entertaining for me and maybe you as well. This should not be a massive surprise. It seems like whenever I have time, I have to give myself ridiculous jobs like writing a bunch of write-ups or recording podcasts and learning how to edit them. And now I'm going to learn how to make videos, so here goes. Hopefully you enjoy, and like I said, will this be the only one of the year? Will I do it every single week? Only time will tell. Few days passed since we've had our draft. I figured now it's about time that we've seen some injuries settle. We've seen some players work themselves in and out of rotations. I'll give a little bit of a draft recap. I'm not going to go and just list everyone that everyone drafted because that would be kind of boring. But what I will do is kind of go in, give a possible best case scenario, worst case scenario, a few comments, and then move on. In terms of order, I want to show no bias, but as we know, only minutes after we drafted, Horst called his shot and said effectively he has won the league because the Yahoo grades said so. So I'm going to go from worst to first in terms of Yahoo grades and give a few opinions on each team. Let's start off with, sadly, me and what I think is my first ever F. That's right, in bottom spot is apparently me. Now, how do you go about getting an F and actually still liking your team? I don't know. Maybe it's because I took a tight end first and I didn't go wide receiver like everybody else or running back like I always do. And in fact, I looked this up and no one cares about my personal history, but I'm making the video, so you have to pretend you care. I think this is the first time since 2008 that I didn't take a running back in the first round. And that year I took a quarterback. It was a league I was in Calgary, and I think I was like last picked. And if you remember 2008, I took a quarterback. Waylon's already probably cringing. I took Tom Brady, and I don't even think he lasted a quarter. So with that being said, I've already set the precedent. Maybe Yahoo just knows. I took Travis Kelce in the first round, and he's probably only going to last a half, and then my team is sunk. I actually like my team. I know we can all say we have moments of like and hate. I got a lot of the players I like. I don't have a lot of running back depth until week 4 when Kamara comes back. And that's my best case scenario, is my running backs pay off. I think I have a decent amount of young wide receivers. And effectively, if they can kind of hold the boat along and get me to a space where I can stay competitive. Trevor Lawrence is a quarterback I'm big on this year, but Yahoo is quite mediocre because he doesn't use his legs as much as some of your quarterbacks. I think I can still be all right, but I am depending on some of my young guns to come through. I think worst case, Yahoo spelt it out. In fact, I'm already can kind of say this. It actually says I'm going 0-14. So if I beat you at any point this year, know that Yahoo does not permit such actions. They don't think I'm going to do well, and in fact, they're going to do about as bad as you can do. So I guess they've already set my floor. Ceiling? Who knows? I guess only time will tell. We have 2 people that are dangling in the D, and I don't mean that in a weird or sexual way. We have our first D, and then we have a D+. So first, we're going to go with our D, which is B. I had to pause there so I wouldn't just mess that up. I don't necessarily agree with all their comments here on Yahoo, especially since I think as last pick, he got 10th and came around the wheel. So I can't actually remember if he took Chubb before Lamb or Lamb before Chubb. Those are 2 people that are huge on a lot of people's lists this year. I think Watson as well is someone that seems to be quite divisive. But this is where B kind of is making his bread and butter this year. He took a lot of people that people were kind of on the fence about. Realistically, best case scenario for him is Deshaun Watson stays away from all Cleveland massage therapists, has a year like he did a couple years ago when he was a top 5 QB, in which case he got the steal of the draft, morals be damned, and lets the rest of his roster kind of pull weight. He has a bunch of guys on his bench. He did take a guy from Chicago. In fact, their supposed receiver that now they have one. So if Chicago comes through and Watson doesn't get creepy, B could be a force as in most years. His floor, obviously, the low he can go if Watson looks like he did in the few games he played last year. If he does bumble into some of the issues, like he took Stevenson, who a lot of people are huge on for New England. But if Belichick be Belichicking and all of a sudden he doesn't care about, fantasy sports and has people like EE punch in some of the goal line carries, or if Chubb goes down, he hasn't before, knock on wood, but you do realize you took 2 Cleveland players in skilled positions. That's dicey. And I think that's where if things go wrong, that's effectively where they go wrong for you. A lot of upside here, though. A lot of people to cheer for. So best of luck, B. Then we move on to our D+, which is kind of an odd statement to make. You kind of failed, but in a positive way. You almost got a C-, but not quite, which is weird. Maybe Mark actually did put a list together, because quite typically when you let Meet More Yahoo do your drafting for you, they draft a team they seem to love. But in this particular case, Mark must have had a list out there and they did not agree with it. We're hoping at some point in time that our two-time champion, and I believe he's made the finals in 3 of the last 4 years, or maybe even won 3 of the last 4 years. I need to check this up. I know I did it in my write-up. I just didn't do it now. So Mark, I'm sure you can tell us. You'll note I easily could have looked this up. I'm looking for proof of life for Mark. We hear from him 3 times a year, so I'm hoping at least once more before Christmas. That would be a nice present. I think, Mark, though, if it was Yahoo or if it was you taking Bijan Robinson, I almost said Dijon there. I got mustard on my mind right now. Huge to take a rookie in the first round, but if you're going to take one, he's supposed to be a generational talent, and Atlanta's supposed to run the living bejesus out of the ball. Who knows, though? I think some people who took Pitts, and we'll get to you later, often Atlanta has this notorious nature of drafting incredibly skilled people and then just not giving them the ball. So I think that's your worst case scenario. You're looking at someone like Fields, who we know his legs work. Now we're just going to see if his arm does, now that he has a couple more receivers or a little bit more of a set. Is he going to be able to punch through and kind of give you the push that you need? You definitely got the high end of defense. So I think your shelf, your floor isn't quite as low, but if Fields and Bijan don't step up, I don't know if you have enough firepower. However, your ceiling can be quite high. You could very, very easily be going for your 3rd straight championship. If you look at your bench, you do have a lot of depth. You got a steal in terms of Tony Pollard. I know a lot of people are huge on him. Definitely the captain of, if only Ezekiel Elliott or only our number 1 wasn't there, this guy is actually better. Now we're going to see. He's got a full backfield to himself, and we'll see what he can do with it. Darlings like Darren Waller also come on your team. Tyler Lockett, who I know a lot of the computer nerds seem to enjoy because they actually say he's massively undervalued. So let's see how it goes. Is Mark going to go back for a three-peat? Is he going to sink to the bottom of the league? Is he going to answer an email? Only time will tell. We have 3 shades of C's, our minus, our neutral, and our plus. Going into our C-, that's Chaz. It was awesome to see Chaz at the draft. I know he had some issues with signing in at the beginning, and then he finally did get on the feed. Looked like he was about triple tasking there in terms of looking after a kid, watching a football/soccer match, and then occasionally making a draft pick. But he did a great job in terms of getting who he wanted. Now, since then, I don't know if we did the draft a week later, would he still take Kupp in the first round? It's super sketchy. Kupp could come out and have another phenomenal MVP caliber year, or the Rams could be tanking. I don't really see it in their nature, but they could be holding him off the field. They're saying now the aggravated injury, so who knows. In terms of his top 3 receivers, though, if we're looking at the ceiling of where Chaz can go, Kupp, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Waddle, I don't know if anyone in this league has a better top 3 receivers. Throw in Freiermuth, who a lot of people think Pittsburgh could be a young budding offense. And in terms of catching the ball, he might be second to none. Joey Burrow should be fine. I think some of the injury concerns is why some people balked on him, but I think he's played through pretty much everything before, so knock on wood. If he stays healthy, I think Chaz can quite easily see himself in the finals. Obviously, with some of the negatives, if you look at his bench, people like Dalvin Cook, Drake London, again, go back to my previous comment, amazing talent at Atlanta, but sometimes they forget that they have amazing talent, or they forget they need someone to throw them the ball. Daniel Jones, who could be a steal, but could also, be Daniel Jones. So I think we're looking at a lot of fluctuation. I think the C- is a bit harsh, but if I would defend Yahoo, I think they're questioning your running back. Gibbs is unproven. Sanders in Carolina, who knows what Carolina is going to do. But I think there's a lot of upside here. So neither would surprise me. And best of luck on Kupp, man. Our straight C, that's Jake. I think he started off in very Jake-ish fashion, taking probably one of the most talented receivers in our league in Hill, who's apparently made comments that he thinks he's going to catch for 2,000 yards. Good for him. Hopefully his quarterback can stay healthy enough to do so. And I think that's when we're looking at Jake. A lot of upside. I think he, as per usual, tries to take people with that high ceiling, People like Lamar Jackson, a lot of people, including myself. I was super pissed that you took him right before my pick. He was definitely going to be my pick. He's meant to have a bump back season. People like Najee, Keenan Allen, they're all people that are hoping can come back and kind of prove their weight. And if so, Jake could very, very easily be in the money once again this year. Unfortunately for him, he did take a gamble on Jonathan Taylor. Now, on the plus side, man, I also took someone who is not playing for the first couple weeks, but at least your guy is actually hurt, so you could put him on the injury reserve and replace him if needed. But I think that's where if the wheels fall off, that's your running back position could be tough. Connor in Arizona could be great. Arizona could just never score a touchdown and no one would be shocked. Najee in Pittsburgh, now with Jalen Warren, might be a bit of a split backfield. You've got Charbonnet and Taylor. So running back depth could creep its ugly head. But your kicker has Anus in his name. And no one can take that from you. Best of luck, Jake. I feel like in every league we go into, Ben's either first or last. I'm only saying this because he does win actually more than he thinks. And in fact, it's enough that he has dropped his easy money on most of the leagues as his handle. But if we're looking at the fantasy baseball, this is about as bad as it's gone. Although I think he's beating me right now in the consolation playoffs. Anywho, our C plus is Ben, our lone Belgian resident left. So if you leave, I don't know if we have to change the name of the league, or we probably won't. We're pretty stuck in our ways. I don't think we've changed a rule in the past 4 years. Ben jumped out of the gate pretty quick, and he seemed super excited to take Christian McCaffrey first, and then decided he didn't need too many more running backs after that. Yeah, he dropped in one of the guys from Miami who could pay off. And similar to my conversation or my comments about Pollard, he took Madison, who a lot of people are suggesting he was always that guy that when Cook goes down, Madison goes off, and there are stats to prove it. He spent the rest of his draft kind of rounding things out, taking Mahomes early. All right, so he had clearly he'd read one of those articles on drafting the rainbow. By that is the different color of positions. He went running back first. I think Mahomes was his second pick or his third. Garrett Wilson, either second or third. I could probably have looked that up. His wide receivers have a lot of upside with Garrett Wilson, who managed to catch more than 1,000 yards last year in an offense with a revolving door of mediocre quarterbacks. Now, as long as Rodgers is taking the right kind of drugs, he should be firing at all cylinders, or at least that's what Hard Knocks wants us to believe, and Garrett Wilson could have a massive year. DK Metcalf, Michael Thomas maybe, McLovin, Judy, Addison. You've got a ton of talent here. And let us not forget, you reached for your kicker for a reason. So obviously you thought you had enough skill sets, rounding out with Philly's defense, which I'm sure pissed Horse off because that was probably his plan all along. So your upside, if things kind of fall in line and your old school nature of a running back first pays off, very easily you could be in the money. For our two Bs, not surprisingly, this rounds out our top four. We have a B flat and a B sharp. I hope you change your name to the B sharps. But you couldn't have happened to two worse people in the sense I'm already confused by your names. So I had to triple check this. I am 90% sure that is actually Whalen's team with Underhill in the name. That is our B minus. If I'm wrong, well, make your own video and make fun of me. If so, that's the case. He took Eckler first. And I think coming out of the gate, again, old school, taking your running back, not like the trendy wide receivers, but then came around the end and filled up with some receivers. Ridley's getting a lot of buzz. Obviously, Devontae Adams, as long as there's someone to throw them the ball. You're taking not so slim pickings from Pittsburgh. Top three could rank as one of the best top three by the end of the year. You also took the gamble on Richardson, which is probably smart since you took Dax. As someone who had Dax last year, it's good to take a backup. I needed a backup for every quarterback I took, so that's certainly not a shot. And I think rounding out James Cook at running back, Etienne, I said I wasn't going to list people, but realistically, I think the reason that you went so high and that you have the B ranking is your floor is not that low. Not that much, knock on wood, can go bad. I mean, injuries can happen to everybody, but your baseline for everyone should make you competitive every single week. Now, how you win this pool, Adams decides he can play with Jimmy G. Ridley is the star that everyone thinks he is. Eckler continues to be a touchdown machine. Hawkinson finds his way in Minnesota. And obviously, I think it's going to come down to some consistent quarterback play. If Dallas is as good as Dallas should be, and they do get to play not a super tough schedule, I think Dax could lead you on. Plus, remember, you do have Dicker the kicker. And again, no one can take that away from you, Waylon. Best of luck. All right, and unless I screwed up, that means our B plus, representing both Hartford and South Korea, we got Underhill. Underhill, according to Yahoo, you're going to finish in the money. Third is going to take home a little bit more than what you put in. So good for you if that ends up happening. Why do they think that? I think they're looking at especially the start of your draft. I mean, taking Diggs and then following up with Allen, the 1-2 combo, certainly one that I think is going to give people a lot of trouble. So when you score, you might score in bunches. Does present a bit of a challenge of a bye week because you do have those two plus your top, well, one of your top two running backs. It depends on how people feel about Aaron Jones and Saquon Barkley, but Barkley's already out week 13. Who gets to face you on week 13? Who also your kicker, or at least right now, and a receiver on your bench, Bateman, are out. I'll get to that in a second because there's one jerk store that just seems to get everybody's week by week. I'll get to him later. But I think Yahoo believes in you. They believe in your strong two running backs. They believe that Kittle's going to stay healthy and that Hopkins' hip will last him the year. And if not, you do have a bench that can come up and support you. I think the all-around nature of your team, even taking Dallas's defense, which a lot of people think could steal the defensive front, I think that's how you succeed. In terms of your low end, I think it is really just injuries or age that get you. If Hopkins ages himself out, if Kittle be Kittling and he only lasts half the season, if Jones or Barkley can struggle a little bit, you do have some guys that have a history of disappearing or getting hurt. Even your bench, guys like Hollywood Brown, Juju. I think it's the inconsistency. I don't see it that much, though. I think you're going to be a week-by-week threat, except again for week 13. So best of luck, buddy. So what happens when you have two Ds and an F in a draft? Apparently, we get two A pluses. I'm not sure we've ever had two before. Now, Horst came out of the gates bragging that he's already won the title and that pretty much we should give him all his money. So I will start with him. I'll get to the other gentleman dead last. Why might Horst have gotten the A plus and why could he be destined for greatness? He hitched his ride to Philadelphia. All right, if Jalen Hurts comes back and is the highest scoring QB in our QB1, if Devontae Smith can get over A.J. Brown like a lot of people think, or just put up hella points, Dallas Goedert being a great tight end option. He even took a gamble on Rashad Penny, who, when healthy, is phenomenal. If they can pull through, Horst might follow suit. Throw in Justin Jefferson, who's just as likely to get 2,000 yards as anybody receiving, and he could be tough week by week. Where he could falter? Well, number one, injuries in his running back. Breece Hall, Cam Akers, they're not exactly made of steel. And having Rashad Penny as your third running back, Horst, you might be needing to do some trading at some point in time. But maybe not. If they come through and they're strong for you, maybe they're not your weakness. Realistically, I think you're going to rise and fall with Philly. Now, with the NFC, in terms of parity, there isn't much. There's really kind of the three halves and then everybody else who were just wondering who might come out. So Philly faltering isn't necessarily likely. However, Super Bowl finalists do have a bit of a stigma. More often than not, if you make the Super Bowl, you fall short as a team, you're in for a stinker the next year. But Cincinnati showed us that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. I also think, if you want to check my stats, the NFC East has not had a back-to-back champion in 19 years. So the fact that Philly won the NFC East, if they can do it, they would be breaking some tradition. So there is a little bit against you, Horst. Don't get too cocky yet and ask for the money. But I think if you can avoid the injuries, you can stay healthy, you're going to be a week-by-week power force. So best of luck. Maybe you'll make it to the finals this year. Last, and certainly least, our second A+, and the last person I'm going to talk about is V. I don't even know why I'm pretending to be mad. I'm just impressed. To be that hungover, to stay awake, and to get through your draft, and then to get the A+, unreal. Maybe this is just your year of destiny, because you are the person I was kind of talking about before. Now, we know Horst took a lot of Philadelphia Eagles, which means his week 10, combined with actually even one of his running backs and one of his backup wide receivers, will be on a bye. So playing Horst in week 10, huge advantage. Playing Underhill in week 13, huge advantage. He's missing a huge chunk of his team. Who is playing both of those? Yes, that's you, V. Check your schedule. You got Horst in 10, and you got Underhill in 13. So the fact that two of your running backs, in Jacobs and Dobbins, are both out on week 13 might not bite you in the ass after all. So congratulations on just sheer dumb luck. However, what you did not do that was sheer dumb luck is you did draft a hefty amount of running backs. Throw in Derrick Henry on top, A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams. Those are 5 people, 4.5 that you can consider a starter. But A.J. Dillon has shown for years that even though Aaron Jones is there, he's not just a handcuff. He really is a flex with benefits. You might be able to get him into flex every once in a while because he catches enough passes and he does enough, or at least he did with his former person who you also took, Aaron Rodgers. All right, so having Herbert and Rodgers there at quarterback, you probably seem pretty solid. Even Mike Evans on your bench as a wide receiver, on top of your number one pick, Chase, you seem pretty stacked all the way through. Now, the only slip of the finger, and I use that term loosely, seemed to be your Kyle Pitts pick. If he ends up having a huge year, there's no way I'm going to hide my just sheer rage at you, Will. I took him in a bunch of pick pools last year. That's why I was so bitter about the Atlanta stuff early on. I think he's massively talented, and I think he's amazing, but I don't think they use him. I know it. You're the team of destiny this year. They're going to use him. Your accidental pick is going to pay off in spades, and you're going to cruise through. In all honesty, it is earned. You had a great draft. I think you're fairly well set up. We all could have injuries, and we could all go down. But I think if your guys stay healthy and everyone does what they should, you've got a good combo. You're not really reliant on any one, and I think you're going to find several ways to win. So good luck, buddy. All right, that's the draft recap. You know I can keep talking, and you know I probably deep down kind of want to, but I'll save it. That just might mean I'll make a few more of these as we go along. I'd love to be able to make this more of a regular habit. At least I'm having fun with it so far. Who knows if anyone else will actually watch it. Best of luck coming into the season. I think we're a couple days away by the time I'm recording this, so I'm not sure when you're watching it. Hopefully by now you've got your snacks set, you've got your place sitting for Sunday's game. I know most of us are in a time zone where we can't really watch Thursdays unless we wake up early or just watch it on repeat. So hey, no spoilers on the chat group for a bit. I think coming into our, is it 14th season, I think, give or take, not too bad for us. So whatever you need to do to put yourself in the fat boys mentality, whether it's eat really deep fried food or drink beer that gives you the runs for about 72 hours afterwards, who knows, makes you feel like you're young again. Either way, hopefully we keep in touch. And again, best of luck, folks.